Hello all, and welcome back to the channel. My name's Oliver, always good to put a face to the name. And today we're going to be looking at the Jake Paul versus Ben Askren fight that unfolded last night. Now we do have a preview of this fight, if you wanted to get an overview and the realms that we thought the fight would take place in, check that out. But for today, from last night's fight, we're going to just go through the clips. I've got my producer James here with me, and we're going to have a look at the learning points and see what we can take from last night's action. So let's get into it. Now the first thing that was great from Jake Paul was the jab. It was fast and accurate, and he varied it very well between head and body. Now, the first thing that I want to mention is that Askren's guard makes him very susceptible to the jab to the body. If we look here, his guard's high but his elbows are out, and there's a big gap in the midsection for Jake Paul to put a jab into the bread basket, they call it in boxing. If you play the video for me please, James. We see the jab landing to the head and then to the body. Great work from Jake Paul. One thing that's good here from Ben Askren is he actually counters Jake Paul. There was a lot of talk in the build-up about Askren's lack of skill and lack of boxing skill. But here, we see him use his timing. All them years in the UFC must have worked well for him. We're going to see Jake Paul jump in with the left hook here. And Ben Askren catches him over the top with the right hand. Now, Jake Paul overcommits here, but he takes the shot well. And what we're getting at here is that there is skill here from Ben Askren. As I say, he timed Jake Paul with the counter. One area that Ben Askren was clearly deficient in the fight was his footwork. Sometimes going back, sometimes going forward. Here in this sequence, we see him just following Jake Paul. There's no lateral movement. He's not cutting off the ring at all. If we go back, James, a little bit. As Ben Askren follows him in, and pause, all he had to do there was take a step to his left to completely block off Jake Paul's route of exit. And one thing that was no secret in the build-up to this fight was that Ben Askren was going to try and get close to Jake Paul, cover the distance, fight him hard, make him tired. And that means Jake Paul has always got the opportunity to land that overhand right in the way in. The same overhand right that Paul axed Nate Robinson with. Play the clip for me please, James. And let's see what happens when he tries to hit Ben Askren with the overhand right. Ben Askren actually goes under the shot. And that shows that he's dealing with a higher level of opposition in this fight. In interviews before the fight, Ben Askren spoke of how in college he was actually noted for having slow twitch muscle fibres and being slow, and because of this he had to use his awkwardness to get himself into positions that other people do that with explosiveness. And this just doesn't translate well to the boxing game. You have to navigate ranges with explosiveness, with speed of hand and foot. And Askren just can't do this. There's no pop on his shots. Play the clip for me please, James. We see him not actually pop a jab, just kind of bumble into range and be there for the counter. And if we look at the contrast with the way Jake Paul throws his shots, there's pop and speed. And now we're going to look at the sequence that preceded the knockout punch. And they're very similar sequences, but what I want to draw your attention to here is the hand position of Ben Askren. If you could start the clip for me please, James. Jake Paul throws the right hand and lands. And Ben Askren finds himself in a position where his hands are kind of like this. Now, this is from years of doing MMA, where initiating the grappling exchange is embedded in his muscle memory. In MMA, when he was under fire, he would have his hand out and initiate that grappling exchange and take it into a realm that did work for him. But again, in boxing, it just doesn't work, and it leaves a big space on the side of your head for the other boxer to target. And now we go to the actual knockout. Very similar combination to the combination we've discussed previously. Jake Paul finds success. Play the clip for me please, James. He finds success with the first shot, and then goes again and lands right on the space that's created by Ben Askren's arm being out. Beautiful punch from Jake Paul. So what are we actually looking at here, guys? Let's summarise. Now, Ben Askren was a great MMA fighter, but he's not a stand-up fighter. He's a wrestler that was in a boxing match here. And he presented Jake Paul with some great challenges in the ring that he obviously overcame. And that's kudos to Jake Paul. He overcame them challenges and he's clearly a talent. But what do we want to see him do next? He's been sparring with fighters like Jean Pascal and Andrew Tabiti, world-level fighters. Let's see that translate over into the ring. Maybe someone like Tommy Fury would be a great challenge for Jake Paul. Or is he going to go down the hype route and chase a fight with the likes of Conor McGregor? You let us know in the comments what you think he should do. As always, thanks for joining us, guys. Thank you for your time and attention, and we hope to see you on the next video.